So I don't know about you, but I loved climbing trees growing up. In the backyard of the house that I grew up in as a child, we had this big tree, maybe an elm tree, I don't know, but it was perfect for climbing. Eventually, my dad just built a tree fort in it. We hung a rope swing off of one of the branches, but I loved to climb trees. I loved the challenge of getting to the top of the trees. We had a birch tree in the front of the house that I would climb, and another smaller tree off to the side of that I would often climb. And as a kid especially, it was always kind of fun to find that bird's nest in the tree, right? With some wonder and some awe at just how they could bring all these little twigs and things together and create this nest. And there's these birds' eggs, right? These fragile little bird eggs. And seeing these bird eggs, you had to be careful with them. We learned very quickly, one, to be careful, one, not to touch them. You don't want to scare off the mother. But eggs in general, you have to be careful with, right? If you've ever done an egg toss challenge, where two people go further apart and see how far you can catch it, or toss it and catch it, how careful you have to be. Of course, there's also just the egg drop. If you've ever had to do one of those, either catching it or having to design something that can actually withstand the impact of the egg hitting the ground. Eggs, you have to be very gentle with an egg. That's why they get packaged in the cartons the way that they do. That's why you don't ever want to put them at the bottom with anything on top, because they're very fragile, and you have to, again, be very gentle. And thinking about the idea of eggs makes me think about our fruit of the Spirit for this week, being gentle. An egg, obviously, it comes from a bird, and bird imagery is actually littered throughout the Bible. In fact, I looked it up, and the word egg even is found in the Bible 7 times. I didn't even know that, so small little treat for you. But bird imagery, right, it's found throughout the Bible. It's a picture of strength, soaring on eagle's wings. It's a picture of refuge, where the writers talk about taking refuge under the shadow of God's wings. And so there's strength there, and there's protection there, but there's also a gentleness. In Deuteronomy 32, Moses is nearing the end of his life and his leadership over Israel, and he's reciting a song before all the people. So in the song, he's praising God, and he's reflecting on what God has done for Israel, for the people of Jacob. And in verse 10, it says this: "In a desert land he found him, in a barren and howling waste. He shielded him and cared for him. He guarded him as the apple of his eye. Like an eagle that stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, that spreads its wings to catch them and carries them aloft." As I read the description of how God is like an eagle that stirs up its nest and hovers over its young, and then spreads its wings to catch them and carries them aloft, that idea of spreading the wings, these wings of strength and of protection that actually catch the young and carries them, that for me is a picture of gentleness. That the wings have to be strong enough to support them, but they have to be gentle enough to catch the young. So for me, as I think about gentleness, here's how I'm going to define it, at least for today and these purposes. That it is having the strength to catch someone who is falling. See, gentleness is not about being soft or weak. It's actually very much, it coincides with strength. Now, everyone falls, okay, and everyone falls in different ways. And that's where it takes sight and strength, timing, flexibility to be gentle enough to catch them, hopefully without them breaking. So my prayer for us today is threefold. One, that you would remember that God is strong enough to catch you when you fall, and gentle enough that you won't break when he catches you. And two, that you would have the strength to be gentle enough to catch somebody else who is falling. And if you are falling, may you find the people in your life who are gentle and strong enough to catch you and to keep you from breaking.